away. The biker was now completely out of my sight. Then I found myself standing alone with this black female who was now shaking her index finger at me, and she still was saying something that I could not understand. I guess the reason why I could not hear her is because she might have been a mute. Then I watched her for one last second, and then I left this area. The next thing that took place inside this dream was now I found myself inside some kind of project park, which I never encountered before. This particular project park was quite large. Then I spotted several mean-looking black men seated upon a project park bench. These individuals were engaged in a very deep conversation with one another. They did not notice me, and I wanted to keep it that way. So I walked in the opposite direction so I could be as far away from them as possible. Then I bumped into a white lady. This white woman wore a spring or summer outfit. The outfit she wore had hinted to me she was dressed for office work. This woman looked to be in her early 30s, and she also looked lost and frightened. I did not speak first to her because I did not know what to say to the woman. She spoke first to me. She asked me, can I walk with her? I said, sure. Then the next thing that took place inside this dream was now the white woman and I have found ourselves kneeling upon a roof of a tall building. And then I spotted a small railing standing in front of me. Then after I spotted the railing, I focused my eyes upon the Brooklyn's clock tower, which was several miles away from the lady and I. Next, I noticed a very tall white stream or steam or smoke rising towards the uppermost floors of the tower. And I also noticed that there was a great deal of water which almost surrounded the ground floors of the clock tower. Then I felt compelled to look behind me, and then I saw a very tall and wide white building which looked a little bit like the Brooklyn's clock tower. This particular building behind me must have been 1 or 2 blocks away from the building the lady and I were still upon. This building displayed a green seashell ornament on its facade, and there was also a green thin spiral item embedded inside a white vertical structure on top of this particular building. Next, the lady and I found ourselves back on the project's ground, and we took notice of 3 black men who stood in front of us. These three men looked dirty and frustrated. One of the 3 men said these words to the lady and I just kidnapped a girl and I'm going to do something to her if you don't do something. The last thought that flashed across my mind was a thought that suggested to me I better hurry and find a way back home. Then I woke up from this dream. And I have 2 drawings about this dream. And in this dream, I have seen the Brooklyn's clock tower, and I've seen, like I said earlier, a tall stream of steam or smoke, which was as high as, was almost as high, or close to 7 floors, top floors, the clock tower. And below, on the ground floor of the clock tower, I've seen water around, almost completely around the clock tower, ground floor area. And the next drawing I have here is a drawing of a picture I seen, well, a drawing of the building I seen when I was on top of a building with the white lady inside this particular dream. And like I said, I felt compelled to look back, and when I looked back, I saw this building. I've seen this tall structure, like I said, it was white and wide, and displayed a green seashell ornament in the front of the building. And on the top here, I see a green spiral item or thing embedded on this white vertical structure which stood on top of this building. The next letter in this piece is the letter I. This is section 8, letter I. There's one intuition story in this piece that begins with the letter I. There's one intuition story about a booming sound. The first number in this piece is the number 1. This piece is called section 8, one intuition story, or S81IS. In the month of December 4th, 2009, I recorded this intuition story inside my dream book. While I sat inside McDonald's restaurant, which is located on the corner of Gates Avenue and Broadway, Brooklyn, New York, my spirit had suddenly picked up a psychic booming sound, or an explosive sound. This very loud booming sound was first picked up by my left ear before it finally rattled the whole left side of my body. The next letter in this piece is the letter L. This is section 8, letter L. There's one dream in this piece that begins with the letter L. There's one dream about the Linden Plaza apartment buildings. The first number in this piece is the number 1. This piece is called section 8, One Linden Plaza apartment buildings, or S81LPABD. In the month of November 2nd, 2009, I recorded this dream inside my dream book. In this dream, I recall that I stood in the middle of a small desert. This desert was not too far from Starrett City. Starrett City is located in the East New York section of Brooklyn. Next, I spotted a commercial airline fly overhead. Then I noticed 2 streaks of white mist coming off both wings of this airplane that flown overhead. And then I felt compelled to follow this plane. So I leaped into the air and I followed this plane. I followed behind the plane for a few seconds. Then this particular plane I was trying to follow had vanished from my sight because it had flown faster than me. Then the next thing I seen inside this dream was another airplane stationed on the runway below me. And this runway was almost completely surrounded by water. Now I realized that I was hovering over John F. K. Airport. And then a thought popped into my head. The thought in my head told me to get ready to follow the second plane below when it finally takes off. But I quickly discarded this thought once I realized the water that nearly surrounded the runway was the Atlantic Ocean. And in my dreams, I'm afraid to fly over an ocean. So I decided to turn back. And then I started to look for a roof of a house I can land upon so that I can rest for a moment. I looked down from the skies and I found a house which looked to be connected to other homes around it. Then I softly landed upon the roof of the home I'd chosen to rest upon. And then after I collected myself, I focused my attention to see what was in front of me. Then my eyes fell upon the Linden Plaza apartment buildings. And then within a few seconds after viewing these buildings, I then began to pick up a great deal of fear and dread all around the Linden Plaza apartment buildings. Before I left this dream, I began to realize I felt these feelings before when I had dreams about the Twin Towers. And I have made a drawing of this particular dream. As you see here, this is my viewpoint from the roof that I landed on. And in front of me stood the Linden Plaza apartment building. Why do I believe that these buildings that were in front of me were the Linden Plaza apartment building? Is because that's what I immediately picked up.